Imagine waking up in the morning, the house quiet, the phone silent, and your heart aching for someone to talk to. Imagine walking through a crowd, surrounded by people, yet feeling invisible, as if you don't truly exist in anyone's world. Imagine sitting in your favorite chair, watching the clock tick, hoping time would move faster just so the day could end. This is loneliness, not just the absence of people, but the absence of connection. Have you ever felt this way? Have you ever asked yourself why, despite having everything, food, shelter, even people around, you still feel this emptiness inside? Have you ever wondered if there's a deeper reason behind this silent pain that visits without warning? Loneliness is more than just being alone. It's something deeper, something that touches the heart in a way few things do. Let's take a simple example. A person may have a family, but still feel lonely. Not because they're physically alone, but because their inner world feels unnoticed. They go through each day doing what they must, but no one really sees their sorrow. This is the loneliness we were talking about, the kind that hides behind smiles and polite conversations. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we gently explore the truths of life through the timeless wisdom of Buddhism. If you've ever felt alone, misunderstood, or emotionally distant, you are not alone, and this video is for you. We invite you to stay with us through this journey, as we uncover the causes of loneliness and reveal how Buddhist philosophy offers deep healing and clarity. Before we dive further, we would love to connect with you. If you find even a spark of hope or understanding in this message, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We do read them, and your words matter. And to carry positive energy throughout this video, type Namo Buddhai in the comments now. It's not just a greeting, it's a reminder that we're walking this path together. Let's begin this journey of quiet discovery and healing, one breath, one thought, and one truth at a time. Roots of emptiness, Buddhist views on the self. In this vast world, each of us carries a story of who we are, what we believe, and where we belong. When loneliness visits, it often feels like that story is incomplete or even broken. But what if the story itself is not as fixed as we think? What if the self we cling to, the I we call me, is only a shadow, a collection of moments that come and go? The Buddha taught us that the self is not a solid thing. It is not a permanent entity sitting somewhere inside us. Instead, it is a flow, ever-changing like a river moving from mountain to sea. When we hold too tightly to the idea of I or me, we create boundaries. These boundaries separate us from others and, most painfully, from ourselves. The sense of loneliness grows because the walls around our self feel solid, and we think we are alone behind those walls. Think for a moment. When you say, I am lonely, who is this I? Is it a fixed person, or is it many feelings and thoughts passing through your mind? Are you the same person you were yesterday, or even 1 hour ago? When we look deeply, we realize that what we call self is really a collection of changing parts. Our body, our feelings, our thoughts, and our memories. None of these parts alone is me, and together they are not permanent either. Because we don't see this clearly, we suffer. We believe we are small islands, isolated and alone. But this is an illusion. When we understand that the self is fluid, we open the door to freedom. We begin to see that loneliness is not something we're stuck with forever. It is just one experience, one passing cloud in the sky of our mind. Imagine the ocean. Sometimes the surface is calm and clear, other times it is stormy and rough. The waves come and go, but the ocean itself is vast and deep. Our sense of self is like those waves, changing, rising, and falling. Loneliness is one wave among many. It may be strong and overwhelming now, but it will pass. The Buddha showed us a way to look beyond the surface waves of our feelings and thoughts. This way is called insight. Insight is not about escaping loneliness by pretending it does not exist. Instead, it means looking deeply at the nature of loneliness and the self with calm and clear attention. When we practice this, we learn to observe loneliness without fear. We notice it as a feeling, but not as who we are. This simple shift changes everything. Loneliness loses its power to control us because we see it as a part of our experience, not the whole story. One of the most important teachings is called anatta, or no self. This means there is no permanent, unchanging self inside us. This teaching is not meant to make us feel lost or empty. On the contrary, it offers a great relief. When we stop trying to protect and defend a fixed self, we stop isolating ourselves. We realize we are connected to everything around us in a flowing web of life. This connection is not just with other people, but with all things, the trees, the sky, the wind, and even the stars. Loneliness fades when we feel this deep connection. We are not separate islands. We are waves on the same ocean. Yet, understanding no self is not easy. Our minds like stories with clear I and you. They like certainty and solid ground. But the more we cling to this illusion, the more lonely we feel. We build walls to protect ourselves, and those walls keep us apart. But what if we could see those walls clearly? What if we could watch them as they rise and fall? With mindfulness, the simple practice of paying attention, we begin to see these patterns inside us. We notice how our thoughts create stories of loneliness. We realize that these stories are not the truth, but habits of mind. When we gently watch our loneliness instead of running away from it, it changes. It becomes less frightening and more like a visitor who will leave in time. We learn to sit quietly with ourselves, like sitting beside a river, watching the water flow. This quiet sitting is not about fixing ourselves or pushing loneliness away. It is about being present, fully and openly, with what is. In this presence, we discover something new, a deep peace that does not depend on others or on circumstances. This peace is always there, beneath the waves of loneliness. It is the nature of our true self, beyond words, beyond thoughts, beyond feeling alone. Another important teaching is impermanence, or anicca. Everything changes, our thoughts, feelings, and even our loneliness. Nothing stays the same. When loneliness feels heavy and endless, remember that it is temporary. Like the seasons, it will change. The practice of patience arises here. When we understand impermanence, we learn to wait without panic. We hold our loneliness gently, knowing it will pass. This waiting is not weakness, it is strength. In time, as we cultivate insight and patience, loneliness begins to lose its grip. We find space inside ourselves where we can rest, no matter what is happening outside. This inner space is freedom, the freedom to be with ourselves without fear or judgment. Loneliness can teach us many things. It teaches us to look deeply at who we are, to see beyond the surface. It teaches us to open our hearts and minds to connection, not only with others, but with life itself. We begin to see that loneliness is not a curse, but a teacher. It asks us to awaken, to see that the self we thought was alone is part of a greater whole. It invites us to step beyond the limits of our small story and touch the vastness of existence. When we walk this path, loneliness becomes less of a burden. It becomes a doorway to understanding, compassion, and peace. So, remember this as you face loneliness. You are not a fixed self trapped inside a lonely cage. You are a flowing river, ever-changing and deeply connected to everything. Loneliness is just one wave, one moment, passing through the ocean of your life. Sit with this truth. Breathe it in. Let it guide you gently toward freedom. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a vast ocean. You look at the waves rolling in and out, each wave seeming to rise on its own, separate and free. But if you look deeper, you realize each wave depends on the entire ocean. Without the ocean, there is no wave. The wave is not separate, it is part of the whole. This is how life is. We often think we are alone, separate from others, isolated in our pain and joy. But in truth, we are all connected. Every breath we take, every thought we have, every feeling that stirs inside us is linked to the world around us. When loneliness visits the heart, it whispers, "You are alone," No one understands. No one sees you. But this is an illusion, a veil that hides the true nature of existence. Just as the wave cannot exist without the ocean, we cannot exist without others. Our lives weave together like threads in a tapestry. Pull one thread, and the whole fabric moves. In Buddhism, this is called interdependence. Nothing stands by itself. Everything arises because of something else. A flower blooms because of the soil, the sun, the rain, and the care of the gardener. The flower cannot say, "I am alone." It is always part of a greater whole. You may ask, if we are all connected, why do I still feel lonely? This is the important question. The feeling of loneliness comes when we forget this connection. We build walls inside ourselves, thinking, I must be strong alone. I must not depend on others. But these walls also block the light of connection. True freedom is not in isolation. It is in seeing the invisible threads that join us to others, the smile shared with a stranger, the helping hand extended in kindness, the silent understanding between two souls. Imagine the branches of a great tree. Each branch reaches out in its own direction, but all are nourished by the same roots deep in the earth. We are like those branches, separate, yes, but also one. When we realize this, loneliness begins to lose its power. We start to see that even when we feel alone, we are still part of life's great tree. The mind likes to separate things, self and other, me and you, lonely and connected. But this splitting creates suffering. The Buddha taught that clinging to the idea of a separate self brings pain. When we grasp at being alone, we suffer more. Instead, what if we simply notice how everything flows together? The water in the stream is not separate from the river. The river is not separate from the sea, and you are not separate from the world around you. This understanding doesn't mean loneliness disappears immediately. Feelings arise and fall like clouds passing through the sky. But when you remember interdependence, you do not have to carry loneliness as a burden. You can watch it come and go, knowing it is part of a larger dance of life. Often, loneliness comes from expecting others to fill a space inside us that only we can tend. We look outward for connection, but the root of true connection begins within. When you realize that you are part of everything, you start to see that you are never truly alone. There is a story in Zen about a monk who asked his master, "How can I stop feeling lonely?" The master replied, "When you see the moon, you see your own face reflected in the water." The monk did not understand at first. But one evening, as he gazed at the moon's reflection shimmering on the pond, he smiled. He saw that the moon was not separate from the water, and his reflection was not separate from the moon. Loneliness dissolves when you see this, when you know you are part of the vast, interconnected web of existence. Your pain is not just yours. It is shared by all who walk the earth. Your joy is also shared. You belong. So, how do we live this understanding? How do we practice seeing beyond separation every day? Begin simply. Notice the breath entering and leaving your body. Notice how the air you breathe has traveled through many hands, plants, and skies before it reached you. Feel the support of the earth beneath your feet. This is connection. Look at the people you meet, friends, family, strangers. Recognize that their lives are linked with yours, like the branches of the great tree. Even a kind word or a smile can remind both you and them that no one is truly alone. When loneliness feels heavy, remind yourself, this feeling is a visitor, not a master. It comes because you have forgotten the truth of interdependence. Gently, turn your attention to the web of life that holds you, people, animals, trees, rivers, mountains. They are all your companions. In this way, the wisdom of Buddhism teaches us to heal loneliness, not by fighting it or denying it, but by seeing through the illusion of separation. We learn to live with openness, understanding, and compassion for ourselves and others. Loneliness is not a punishment. It is a signal, a call to remember who we truly are. Not isolated drops of water, but part of the endless ocean. When you walk this path, remember, you are never alone. The world breathes with you, moves with you, and holds you. Loneliness is often born from a longing, a desire for connection that seems just beyond reach. This longing, or craving, can feel like a hunger deep inside us. We want others to see us, to understand us, to hold us. We want friendship, love, or simply to be noticed. And when these wishes go unmet, the ache grows heavier. In Buddhist teaching, this craving is seen as one of the roots of suffering. It is called tanha, the thirst that pulls us towards something outside ourselves. When we cling to this thirst, it can trap us in cycles of hope and disappointment. We may try again and again to fill this emptiness with people, things, or experiences, only to find ourselves still lonely inside. Imagine a person who chases after a butterfly. Every time the butterfly comes near, they reach out, but it flies away. Their hands are empty, and their heart is tired. This is how craving works. The more we chase, the more elusive the object becomes. The more we cling to the idea of connection as something to gain, the more we suffer when it slips away. But why does craving create loneliness? It is because craving sets us apart. It makes us feel incomplete. It convinces us that only something or someone outside can make us whole. Yet, in this very moment, this feeling of lack grows louder because we're caught in wanting something more, something different than what is. Here lies the paradox. Our desire for connection, when unchecked, can deepen the very loneliness we seek to escape. Because craving sees the world as separate from me and from you, for what I have and what I do not. This division fuels our suffering. Buddhism teaches that this sense of separation is an illusion. In truth, everything is interconnected, like waves on the ocean. Yet, craving blinds us. It builds walls where there are none. It tells us that we are alone islands, separate and unreachable. When we learn to see craving clearly, we begin to loosen its grip. We start by noticing the moment when desire arises in the heart. We don't have to act on it or push it away. We can simply observe it, like watching clouds pass in the sky. This gentle awareness breaks the cycle of reaction. There's a saying in Zen, let go or be dragged. When we hold tightly to craving, we're dragged along by it, pulled into suffering. But when we loosen our grip, even just a little, we open space for peace. Craving often wears the mask of, I need this to be happy. But happiness that depends on something external is fragile. It can vanish in an instant. True peace arises not from clinging to what we want, but from acceptance of what is. This is not easy. The mind resists letting go. It whispers fears. If I release this desire, I will be empty. I will be forgotten. I will be alone forever. But the wisdom of the Buddha shows a different path. When we release the craving, we open to a deeper connection, not to a person or thing, but to life itself. This connection is alive in every breath we take, in every heartbeat. It is the awareness that we are part of a larger whole, woven into the vast fabric of existence. It does not depend on conditions or approval. It simply is. So how do we practice this letting go in daily life? It begins with gentle attention. When loneliness arises, instead of pushing it away or chasing after distractions, we can meet it with curiosity. What is this feeling? Where does it live in the body? How does it change when I breathe? By turning toward loneliness without judgment, we soften its power. We begin to see it as a visitor, not a permanent state. And as we do, the craving that feeds loneliness begins to weaken. We also learn to recognize how craving shows up in smaller ways. Maybe it is wanting a certain person to call, a certain place to visit, or a certain feeling to last. These desires are natural, but they become harmful when they control us. The practice is to notice these cravings as they arise and remind ourselves, this too shall pass. We train the mind to stay present, to hold openness, and to rest in the stillness beneath desire. This is the heart of Buddhist practice, freedom from the bonds of craving. When we no longer cling, loneliness loses its sting. We discover that being alone is not the same as being lonely. Solitude becomes a space for peace and healing. This does not mean we stop seeking connection. It means we shift our relationship to it. We engage with others not out of need, but out of genuine kindness and presence. We learn to be whole within ourselves so that relationships become a joy, not a necessity. The Buddha said that craving is like a fire. It consumes the mind with endless wanting. But mindfulness and wisdom are like water and earth. They can put out the fire and nurture new growth. In the stillness, after craving fades, we find clarity. We see ourselves and others with compassion, without grasping. We feel connected because the walls of separation have softened. Loneliness begins to transform. It becomes not a curse, but a teacher, showing us where we hold on too tightly, where we forget our true nature. This journey requires patience. Craving will return again and again. The mind is like the ocean and desire the waves that rise and fall. But each time we return to presence, to acceptance, we deepen our freedom. So when loneliness comes, do not run from it. Do not drown it in distractions. Instead, breathe with it. Watch it. Learn from it. And gently, over time, you will see that craving is not your master. You are more than desire. You are more than the need to connect or be seen. You are part of an endless web of life, always connected beneath the surface. This understanding does not erase loneliness instantly, but it plants a seed of peace that grows quietly within. It is a light that shines in the darkest nights, guiding us home to ourselves. Imagine, if you will, the simple act of breathing. Just breathing, nothing else. Inhale deeply, feel the air enter your body, and exhale gently, letting go. This breath, this moment, is all we truly have. Yet how often do we forget it? How often do we rush through life, trapped in memories of the past or worries about the future, missing the very life that is unfolding now? Loneliness often grows in these spaces of distraction. When our mind is elsewhere, lost in regrets, fears, or longing, we become disconnected not only from others but from ourselves. The solution is not found by searching outside, but by returning again and again to the present moment. This is the heart of mindfulness. Mindfulness is simply the practice of being fully present with whatever is happening now. It is not about emptying the mind or forcing happiness. Instead, it invites us to notice our feelings, thoughts, and sensations with kindness and without judgment. When loneliness arises, mindfulness asks us to greet it gently, as an old friend, rather than pushing it away or running from it. Consider a still lake. When the water is calm, it reflects the sky perfectly. But when the wind blows, the surface ripples and distorts the reflection. Our mind is like this lake. When we are calm and centered in the present, we see life clearly. When distracted, our perception is clouded by fear and loneliness. Practicing mindfulness helps us become like the calm lake. Each time we pause and focus on our breath, on the sound around us, or on the sensations in our body, we invite peace back into our heart. The loneliness softens, not because it disappears, but because our relationship with it changes. In Buddhism, mindfulness is more than just a practice, it is a way of living. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from craving and aversion, but by being present without resistance, we can touch the freedom beneath these feelings. Loneliness, then, is not something to fear, but a doorway to deeper understanding. When you feel lonely, try this simple exercise. Find a quiet place and sit comfortably. Close your eyes if you wish. Breathe naturally and gently bring your attention to your breath. Notice how it moves in and out. Thoughts and feelings will come, and this is natural. When you notice your mind wandering, kindly bring it back to the breath. You might notice feelings of sadness or emptiness. This is okay. Allow these feelings to be there without pushing them away. Imagine holding a small bird in your hands. You do not want to squeeze it tightly, but neither do you want to let it fly away suddenly. Hold your feelings with the same gentle care. In time, mindfulness reveals the truth that loneliness is not a fixed state. It is like a cloud passing through the sky. When we are fully present, we see that feelings come and go like waves in the ocean. We do not need to be afraid of them or cling to them. Furthermore, mindfulness deepens our connection to ourselves. Many people feel lonely because they have lost touch with who they truly are. In our busy lives, we forget to listen to the quiet voice within, the part of us that is whole and unchanging. Mindfulness opens the door to this inner sanctuary. When you practice being present, you begin to notice small joys that were once hidden. The warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of birds singing, the softness of a gentle breeze. These simple moments become anchors, reminding you that you're never truly alone. Life is happening right here, right now, and you are a part of it. This presence also opens your heart to others. When you are mindful, you listen more deeply. You see not only their words, but their feelings. You respond with kindness rather than judgment. This natural connection helps dissolve loneliness, building bridges of understanding and compassion. Remember, mindfulness is not about forcing your feelings away or pretending to be happy. It is about being honest with yourself and allowing whatever arises to be seen clearly. This clarity transforms loneliness from a heavy burden into a teacher, one that shows you the way toward peace. Each time you practice, you plant a seed. Over time, this seed grows into a deep, steady peace that supports you in difficult times. Even when you feel lonely, you carry this peace within you, a quiet companion that never leaves. It is also helpful to bring mindfulness into daily activities, washing dishes, walking, eating. These moments become opportunities to be present, to slow down, and to reconnect. The ordinary becomes extraordinary as your attention opens to the richness of life. There may be days when loneliness feels overwhelming, and that is natural. Mindfulness does not promise to erase pain, but to help you meet it with courage and compassion. When you greet loneliness this way, you weaken its power over you. In the stillness of mindfulness, you find your true nature, not separate, not isolated, but deeply connected to all life. This is the wisdom that Buddhism offers, a wisdom born not from books, but from direct experience of the present moment. So, when loneliness visits, welcome it with a calm heart. Sit with it, breathe with it, let it teach you what you need to learn. In time, you will discover that this quiet presence is the greatest companion of all. The path of mindfulness is simple, but requires patience and gentle persistence. Do not judge yourself for wandering thoughts or restless feelings. Each moment is a new beginning. Each breath is a fresh chance to return home to yourself. In this way, loneliness can transform. It no longer becomes a wall that divides, but a window that opens to understanding, to compassion, and to the deep peace that lives within you. Breathe deeply now, and know that you are here, you are alive, and you are enough. The present moment is always waiting to receive you. Loneliness is like a cold wind that blows through the soul. Many people believe that when they feel alone, they must find someone else to fill that emptiness. But the way of the Buddha shows us a different path, a path not away from solitude, but toward the true warmth of connection. Not just connection to others, but connection to something deeper, something beyond the surface of daily life. In this quiet moment, imagine a garden. The garden is full of different plants, flowers, trees, each unique, each necessary. They all depend on the earth, the sun, the rain. No one grows alone. Like that garden, human beings are connected through invisible threads. This is what the Buddha called Sangha, the community of those walking the path of truth. It is not just a group of people. It is a living, breathing support, a refuge where hearts find peace. When loneliness visits, it may seem like a punishment, a sign of failure, or even a burden too heavy to carry. But consider this. In the Sangha, there is no judgment. There is only acceptance, kindness, and a shared understanding that every person struggles, every heart aches. You do not need to carry your loneliness in silence. The Sangha is like a soft cloak wrapped around you in your darkest hours. Sometimes the hardest part is asking for help. Many feel shame or fear in admitting loneliness. Yet in the Sangha, vulnerability is strength. When one person opens their heart, others respond with gentle presence. This is the healing power of connection. It is not about fixing or changing, but about simply being together, being present. The Sangha teaches us that we are never truly alone. Even if we sit in solitude, the energy of all beings surrounds us. Like a river flowing endlessly, the connection between souls never breaks. In moments of loneliness, remember this flow. It is the heartbeat of existence itself. Being part of a community rooted in mindfulness and compassion gives us tools to transform loneliness. Through meditation, we learn to turn inward without fear. We observe the feelings of loneliness not as enemies, but as guests visiting our house. We welcome them, listen deeply, and then gently guide them out. Over time, the silence between thoughts grows richer, and a peaceful solitude replaces the ache. This peaceful solitude is different from loneliness. It is a sacred space where we meet ourselves fully, without judgment. It is a chance to nurture the seed of love and kindness that lives within. The Sangha supports this inner work by reflecting our own kindness back to us. When we see others practicing patience, generosity, and care, we are reminded to be gentle with ourselves. Connection to Sangha is not only about words or physical presence. It is about shared energy, shared silence, and shared intention. In group meditation, for example, a simple act becomes powerful. Breathing together, sitting quietly, being present in the same space. This shared presence creates a bond stronger than loneliness. Many who feel lonely believe they must change themselves to be accepted. But the Sangha offers a different truth. You are enough just as you are. Your suffering, your fears, your imperfections are part of your unique path. In this sacred community, you do not have to hide. You are embraced fully, just as a mother embraces her child. In a modern world, where people are often disconnected despite technology, the Sangha reminds us of the importance of genuine human connection. It calls us to slow down, to look into each other's eyes with compassion, and to listen deeply. This is a medicine more powerful than any pill or distraction. As you walk your own path, remember that the Sangha is always available. It may be a formal group, or it may be a friend, a teacher, or even the quiet presence of nature. The important thing is the intention to connect beyond surface appearances, to see the heart behind the face. The Buddha taught that all beings desire happiness and wish to avoid suffering. Loneliness is a form of suffering that can be eased when we open our hearts to others. But first, we must open our hearts to ourselves. Self-compassion is the gateway to true connection. When we forgive ourselves for feeling lonely, when we accept that it is part of being human, we soften the walls around our hearts. Imagine now a candle in the darkness. One small flame can light many others without losing its own brightness. When we share our light with the Sangha, it grows stronger. Together, we become a warm circle of light, holding each other through cold nights of solitude. The Sangha also teaches patience. Healing loneliness is not a quick fix. Like a tree growing slowly in the earth, connection takes time to deepen and roots to strengthen. We must tend it daily with kindness, presence, and openness. Each small moment of reaching out, whether through a smile, a kind word, or a quiet presence, adds to this living bond. When loneliness feels overwhelming, remember the breath. The breath is always with you, steady and true. It connects you to the present moment, and through it to all living things. With each breath, you join the vast community of life, thousands of beings breathing together, sharing the same air. The Sangha is also a reminder of impermanence. Feelings come and go, like clouds crossing the sky. Loneliness is not permanent. It will change, fade, and eventually give way to joy and connection again. Trust this natural cycle, as the Buddha did. Sometimes the most profound connection arises not from words, but from silence. Sitting quietly with others, sharing the same peaceful space, can speak louder than any conversation. This shared silence holds the presence of the Sangha, solid, gentle, and ever-present. In this space, we learn to listen not just to others, but to the whisper of our own hearts. We discover that loneliness is not a prison, but a doorway. Behind it lies the path to self-awareness, to compassion, and to a deeper understanding of what it means to be truly connected. The Sangha is a mirror. When we look into the eyes of others with kindness, we see ourselves reflected. We realize we are not separate islands, but parts of a vast ocean of life. This realization softens loneliness and replaces it with belonging. Let us remember that the Buddha himself gathered a Sangha, a community of monks and lay people who walked the path together. He understood that the journey toward awakening is not meant to be traveled alone. He taught that through companionship, encouragement, and shared practice, we find strength to overcome suffering, including loneliness. So, when loneliness touches your heart, do not close yourself off. Reach out. Find your Sangha, whatever form it takes. It could be a meditation group, a trusted friend, or even a quiet place in nature where you feel the presence of all beings. Let this connection be the light that guides you through the darkness. In the Sangha, there is no rush. There is no pressure to be perfect or to hide your feelings. There is only acceptance, patience, and the steady presence of others who walk with you on this path. Together, we hold space for healing, for growth, and for love. Remember this: you are never truly alone. The Sangha surrounds you, not just in people, but in the shared breath of all beings, in the kindness of strangers, and in the silence that holds your heart gently. This is the gift of the Sangha. It teaches us that even in our loneliest moments, connection is possible. Healing is possible. Peace is possible. So breathe deeply, open your heart, and allow the presence of the Sangha to enfold you. This is the true antidote to loneliness, the warm embrace of community, compassion, and shared humanity. Loneliness is often a heavy burden. It feels like an empty room in the heart, a quiet that is too loud. Many think loneliness disappears only when others come close or when company fills the silence. But the truth taught by the Buddha is deeper and more freeing. True healing begins within, with kindness toward ourselves. Imagine the heart as a small seed planted in the earth. If you leave it dry, cold, and ignored, it will not grow. But if you water it gently with love and care, it can sprout and become strong. In this way, self-love is the water and sunlight for your inner being. Yet, many have forgotten this simple truth. They wait for others to love them, to tell them they matter. But the Buddha teaches, first, you must love yourself. Loving yourself is not selfishness. It is not arrogance or pride. It is simply recognizing your own worth, your own goodness. Like the breath that flows quietly but steadily, self-love sustains you, even when the world seems empty. Without it, loneliness can become a dark cave with no exit. With it, even silence becomes a gentle friend. When you start to treat yourself with compassion, you begin to notice how harsh you might have been. You realize how often the mind criticizes you, calling you names or reminding you of mistakes. These harsh voices create walls between your heart and peace. But compassion tears down these walls. It softens the mind and warms the heart. The Buddha taught about metta, which means loving kindness. It is a practice of opening the heart to yourself and others with care and gentleness. When you practice metta, you send silent wishes. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be peaceful. At first, it may feel strange to say these words to yourself, but with time, they begin to heal the wounds inside. This kindness to yourself is the first step toward breaking loneliness. Why? Because loneliness grows when you feel unworthy or unloved. When you start to see yourself as deserving of love and kindness, loneliness loses its power. You become a friend to your own heart. One may ask, how do I start to love myself if I only know how to be hard on myself? The answer is simple but requires patience. Begin small. Notice the moments when you feel pain or sadness. Instead of pushing them away or blaming yourself, just be with these feelings gently. Imagine holding a small child who is afraid. You would not scold the child, but soothe and comfort them. Do the same with your heart. Each day, find one thing to appreciate about yourself. It might be your courage to face the day, your willingness to try again, or even the way you smile at a kind memory. These small acknowledgments build a foundation of respect and care for yourself. Remember, the mind can be like a restless monkey, jumping from thought to thought, often carrying harsh judgments. But the heart is like a calm lake, quiet and still beneath the surface. Compassion is the gentle breeze that smooths the water, allowing peace to shine through. As you grow in self-love, you begin to understand something beautiful. You are not alone in your suffering. The Buddha reminds us that all beings suffer and all beings long for happiness. When you feel lonely, it is a sign that your heart is open, that it yearns for connection, for understanding. By loving yourself, you prepare your heart to connect with others, not from neediness, but from fullness. This fullness changes how you relate to loneliness. It becomes less like a burden and more like a teacher. Loneliness shows you where your heart needs care. It invites you to listen deeply, to find the spaces where kindness has been missing. When you respond with love, you transform loneliness into a doorway, a path leading inward to a place of peace. Sometimes, loving yourself means setting boundaries. It means saying no to things or people that drain your energy or diminish your spirit. It means choosing what nourishes your soul, even if others do not understand. The Buddha's middle way is about balance, caring for yourself without selfishness, caring for others without losing yourself. In this practice, solitude becomes different. It is no longer a punishment or a sign of failure. It is a sacred time to be with yourself, to rest, to heal. The silence holds space for you to meet your true nature, the bright, calm presence that has always been there beneath the noise of loneliness. The path is not always easy. Some days, old feelings of unworthiness may return like shadows. But remember, every moment is new. Every breath gives you a chance to return to kindness. When you stumble, do not judge yourself. Gently bring your attention back to compassion, like a gardener tending to a beloved plant. The Buddha's wisdom offers many ways to cultivate this compassion. Meditation is one tool, a quiet time to sit and focus on loving thoughts toward yourself. Walking mindfully, paying attention to each step with kindness. Even simple acts like smiling at yourself in the mirror can awaken love. Over time, you may notice a change. The loneliness that once felt like a heavy weight becomes lighter. Your heart feels fuller. You may find joy in small moments. The warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of birds outside your window, the taste of your favorite food. These moments are gifts that remind you. You are alive, you are worthy, you are loved. When you love yourself, you also begin to see others differently. You become more patient and kind because you know what it feels like to struggle. Compassion flows outward naturally. You do not depend on others to fill a hole inside you. Instead, you share your fullness, your light, your peace. This is the great freedom the Buddha offers. Freedom from the chains of loneliness through the simple power of compassion. It is not a magic fix, but a steady practice, a way of living. Day by day, breath by breath, love grows. So, if loneliness visits you today, do not despair. Remember that the most important companion you will ever have is yourself. Treat yourself as a dear friend. Speak kindly. Listen deeply. Offer your heart the warmth it needs. In doing so, you walk the path of healing, the path of peace. And know this: the light you kindle within will shine far beyond your own heart. It will touch others, heal wounds, and create connections that loneliness cannot break. Because the truest connection begins inside, with compassion, with love, with you. Transforming solitude, turning aloneness into peace. Sit with me just for a moment. Close your eyes, not to escape the world, but to meet it more clearly within yourself. You see, being alone is not the same as being lonely. This is one of life's quiet truths. Loneliness is a feeling of emptiness, of missing something or someone. But being alone, that can be something entirely different. It can be peaceful. It can be healing. It can even be beautiful. Many people fear being alone. They think that silence is a sign that something is wrong. They believe that if no one is calling, no one is visiting, no one is sitting across the table, then their life must be empty. But this is only one way to see things. It is not the only way, and it is not the way of the wise. In Buddhism, we are taught that suffering often comes from resistance, not from what is, but from our reaction to it. Loneliness is often this kind of suffering. We are alone, yes, but we also resist it. We wish it were different. We long for someone's presence, someone's voice, someone's hand in ours. This longing becomes the wound, not the solitude itself. Now imagine, for a moment, not fighting that aloneness. Imagine sitting quietly and simply allowing it, not pushing it away, not chasing something to fill it, just letting it be. In that moment, something changes. You begin to see that aloneness is not the enemy. It is space. It is silence. It is time with yourself and with life. A tree does not feel lonely standing alone in the forest. It simply grows. A bird flying across the open sky is not sad that no other bird is beside it. It simply flies. And so we too can learn to be with ourselves, not in sadness, but in stillness, in presence. Many of us, especially later in life, find ourselves more alone than before. Children grow up. Friends drift apart. Partners pass on, and we are left with ourselves. This can feel like a great loss, but can also be the beginning of a new chapter, one where we finally listen to our own hearts. You see, most of us have lived so much of our lives in relation to others. We defined ourselves by who we cared for, who we loved, who needed us. But now, the invitation is different. The question is, can you be with yourself without running away? Can you sit quietly and hear your own soul speak? Solitude offers this space. It gives us the chance to rediscover who we are when no one else is watching, to hear our thoughts, to feel our breath, to notice the small, quiet things. The way sunlight hits the wall, the sound of a bird outside the window, the taste of tea sipped slowly. These small things, unnoticed when we are busy, become treasures in solitude. Buddha often went into the forest alone. He sat beneath trees for days. He walked silently through the mountains, not because he was running from the world, but because he was meeting it more deeply. In silence, he listened. In solitude, he saw the truth of all things. And so can we. It does not mean we must give up relationships or community. No, it means that we learn to stand on our own feet. We learn to befriend ourselves. When we do this, something surprising happens. We begin to feel less lonely, even when no one else is around. Because loneliness is not about the number of people in the room. It is about the feeling of disconnection inside. And when we connect with ourselves, when we begin to know our own heart, that disconnection begins to soften. There's a quiet joy that comes from walking alone and feeling the breeze. From cooking a meal just for yourself. From reading a book with no one to interrupt you. These are not empty moments. They are rich. They are full. But to see their richness, we must slow down. In Zen, we often say, when walking, just walk. When sitting, just sit. This is a way of saying, be present. Be here. Do not rush past your own life in search of something better. See what is already here. Feel it fully. Aloneness gives you the space to do this. It gives you room to breathe, to stretch, to unfold. It is not a punishment. It is not a problem. It is an opening. Of course, there will be moments when sadness visits. Let it. Don't be afraid. Just as a bird rests on a branch and then flies away, so too will your sadness. Do not chase it away. Just breathe. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel your breath move in and out. Know that you are alive and that this moment is enough. We do not always need company to be whole. We do not always need words to feel loved. Sometimes, the greatest healing comes in silence, in sitting alone by the window, in watching the rain, in listening to the wind. The Buddha taught that all things are impermanent. So is loneliness. It rises and falls like waves on the ocean. When we stop fighting it, when we stop feeding it with fear or stories, it begins to settle. Like muddy water, it becomes clear with stillness. This is the gift of solitude. It is not loneliness. It is space. It is rest. It is the simple act of being with yourself, just as you are. So, sit with me a little longer. Feel the quiet. Let go of needing it to be different. And perhaps you will discover, as so many have before, that peace is not found in others. It is found in the heart. Your heart. Right here. Right now. Let us walk this path together and alone. Not in fear, but in deep, silent love. The middle way. Balance between isolation and engagement. Sit quietly, dear one. Let us speak heart to heart. There is a path between two extremes. A place between the deep silence of being alone and the noise of always being with others. This place is called the middle way. In this place, you don't have to run from others. And you don't have to run from yourself. You learn to sit, to breathe, and to be at peace, both in company and in solitude. Many people, as they grow older, feel torn. They say, I don't want to be alone. But they also say, I don't want to be with people who don't understand me. It's like standing between two rivers, not knowing which one to cross. One river is too cold and empty. The other is too noisy and fast. But there's a quiet bridge. That bridge is balance. Buddha never told people to cut off from the world, nor did he ask them to drown in it. He taught the middle path. He said, too much of anything can bring suffering. Even too much silence can become heavy. Even too much company can feel like a burden. So we walk the middle road, step by step, gently, mindfully. There are days when being alone feels right. On these days, drink your tea slowly. Listen to the sound of the wind. Watch the clouds move. Let the silence speak to you. This is not loneliness. It is sacred space. In this space, your heart can breathe. You begin to feel life again, not as noise, not as drama, but as presence. And there are days when your heart calls out for another voice, a hand to hold, a word of kindness. On these days, don't be afraid to reach out. Call a friend. Smile at a stranger. Sit beside someone in silence. This, too, is a sacred act. Connection doesn't always need words. It just needs openness. Some people fear being alone. Others fear being vulnerable with people. But true freedom comes when you are no longer afraid of either. When you can sit by yourself and feel whole, and also sit with others and still feel yourself. That is the balance. That is the middle way. Let me share a little story. A monk once came to me and said, Master, I feel lost. When I sit alone, I feel empty. When I go out, I feel more lost. What should I do? I said, you are trying to escape both silence and noise. Instead, embrace them. Make silence your friend. Make the world your temple. Walk with both. That is your path. The monk returned a year later. He had lines on his face, but his eyes were calm. He said, I no longer fear my room, and I no longer hide from the market. I listen to the birds when I'm alone. I listen to people when I'm in the village. Both are music now. I smiled and said, then you are beginning to understand. You see, loneliness often comes when we expect too much from either side. We think being alone should make us feel peaceful always. And we think being with others should fill every gap in our hearts. But both are mirrors. They show us different parts of ourselves. When we see them clearly, we stop blaming them for how we feel. In the middle way, we take small steps. We don't rush to fill the silence. We don't force ourselves into crowds. We watch our own heart. We ask, what do I need today? If today the heart needs stillness, we give it. If it needs laughter, we find it. But we don't cling to either. We just flow. Even nature follows this way. The day has sunlight, and the night has quiet. Trees bloom, and then they rest. Rivers flow fast, and then they slow. Everything moves between fullness and emptiness, between sound and silence. You're no different. Your soul also needs both. There is no shame in wanting company, and there is no pride in forcing solitude. The wise one knows when to be with people and when to be with oneself. The wise one listens to the rhythm inside. That rhythm will guide you better than any rule. When we try to fix loneliness only by adding more people, we miss the lesson. And when we try to fix it by cutting the world out, we miss the blessing. True healing is not in doing more or doing less. It is in doing what is right for this moment, this breath, this heart. The Buddha sat alone under the Bodhi tree, but he did not stay alone forever. He rose and walked into the world to teach, to love, to serve. He balanced his time. He knew silence. He knew speech. He knew retreat. He knew action. This is the middle way. And so, dear listener, take a deep breath. Look at your life. Notice when you feel too far from others. Notice when you feel too far from yourself. Then gently return to the center. You don't have to choose one or the other forever. You just have to know what your soul needs today. Let this be your guide. Not fear, not habit, but awareness. Ask yourself, am I running from something? If yes, pause. If no, proceed with peace. The right balance is not in the outer world. It is in your inner knowing. Walk slowly. Watch your thoughts. Welcome your feelings. Spend time with people who lift your spirit. Spend time with yourself in quiet joy. Both are sacred. Both are part of your path. Remember, you're not meant to walk every moment with others, nor are you meant to walk every moment alone. You are meant to walk in awareness, in truth, in balance. This is the way of the wise. This is the way of peace. This is the middle way, and it will never leave you empty. Loneliness and suffering often live in the same house. When your heart feels heavy and your mind spins stories of pain, it is as if you are holding onto invisible chains. These chains bind you tightly, making it difficult to breathe freely or see clearly. But listen carefully. These chains were never meant to stay forever. Wisdom is the key that can unlock them. To heal, one must first understand the nature of suffering. We often try to push pain away, hide from it, or fill the emptiness with noise and distraction. Yet, pain is not an enemy to defeat or a shadow to fear. It is a visitor, a message from your heart calling for attention and care. When you resist suffering, it only grows stronger. When you meet it with calmness and gentle awareness, its power begins to fade. Imagine your mind as a still pond. When suffering arises, it is like a stone dropped into the water, creating ripples. If you try to fight the ripples, the water becomes restless. But if you let the ripples spread and settle naturally, the pond returns to calmness on its own. This is the way of healing, accepting your feelings, watching them closely, and allowing them to flow without resistance. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from attachment, holding too tightly to things we cannot keep or clinging to how we wish things were. This attachment creates pain because life is always changing. When we hold on to what is not permanent, we suffer. But when we learn to see the world as it truly is with all its changes and uncertainties, we begin to free ourselves. Think about the wind. It cannot be held or trapped. It blows freely through trees and over mountains. If you try to catch the wind in your hand, you will only feel frustration. But if you let it pass, you can enjoy its gentle touch. So too, thoughts and emotions cannot be held tightly. Letting go does not mean forgetting or ignoring. It means seeing clearly that these feelings come and go like the wind. Wisdom arises from this clear seeing. It is not knowledge learned from books alone, but deep understanding born from experience and mindfulness. When you watch your mind without judgment, without calling your thoughts good or bad, you begin to see the patterns that trap you. You see how old worries replay, how fears take shape, how loneliness builds walls around your heart. This seeing brings freedom, because once you know the nature of your suffering, you can choose not to be controlled by it. You can respond with kindness to yourself instead of harshness. You can give yourself the space to heal, just like a garden needs rest to grow flowers again. Healing through wisdom is a gentle path. It is not about rushing or forcing change. It is about patience and kindness, both to yourself and to life. Each moment of awareness is a small step forward, even if you do not see it right away. Even the smallest breath taken with care can help loosen the grip of pain. Many people believe that healing means forgetting or fixing something broken. But true healing is deeper. It is learning to live with your wounds, not as a burden, but as a part of your story. When you accept your pain, it loses its power to hurt you. It becomes a teacher, showing you where your heart needs more love. In this way, loneliness can become a doorway rather than a prison. When you stop running from the feeling of being alone, you begin to understand the true nature of connection. Connection is not just being with others. It is being fully present with yourself. It is recognizing that your own presence, your own breath, is enough. You are not separate from the world, though it may feel that way at times. You are part of a vast web of life, invisible threads linking you to all beings. When you begin to feel this, the cold walls of loneliness start to dissolve. You realize you are never truly alone because your heart beats in rhythm with the universe. Letting go of mental suffering is not a single act, but a daily practice. Each time you feel sadness or fear, pause and breathe. Watch your thoughts without judgment. Say to yourself gently, "This too will pass." And remember, every breath is a chance to begin again. The Zen way teaches us to return to the present moment over and over again. The past is gone, and the future has not yet come. Only now is real. In this moment, you can choose peace. You can choose kindness. You can choose freedom. It is natural to want to fix loneliness quickly to find an instant cure. But healing is like the slow unfolding of a flower. It cannot be rushed or forced. It takes time, patience, and trust. Trust that even in your darkest moments, the light of wisdom is there, waiting to be discovered. When suffering feels overwhelming, remember that you have within you the strength to face it. You're not weak for feeling lonely or sad. These feelings are part of being human. But you are strong because you can learn to live with them, to see them clearly, and to let them go. The greatest healing comes from understanding yourself deeply, without shame or fear. When you meet yourself with compassion, you become your own best friend. This friendship is a balm for loneliness, a warm light in the cold night. So, as you walk this path, be gentle. When thoughts of pain arise, do not push them away. Invite them to sit beside you for a moment. Breathe with them. Watch them change and fade. Let the wisdom of presence guide you through. Healing through wisdom is not about escaping life's difficulties. It is about meeting them with an open heart and a clear mind. It is learning that suffering is part of the journey, but it does not have to define your story. Remember, the river flows freely not because it fights the rocks, but because it moves with them. So too, let your heart flow with life, embracing pain and joy alike. In this flowing, you will find freedom beyond loneliness. Take this teaching as a gentle reminder. Your suffering is not your enemy, but a signpost pointing to deeper understanding. With each breath, each moment of awareness, you move closer to healing and peace. Let your heart be soft. Let your mind be calm. In this space, loneliness will lose its grip, and you will find a quiet joy that no one can take away. The path is always open. The way is always present. Walk it with patience, with courage, and with kindness. Healing is waiting for you. Loneliness touches the heart deeply. Yet, in this quiet place of solitude, the heart has the chance to awaken to something very important: love and kindness. In Buddhist teachings, these qualities are called metta and karuna. Metta means loving kindness, a warm and gentle feeling that wishes happiness and peace for all beings. Karuna is compassion, the deep wish to ease the suffering of others. These are not just ideas to think about. They are practices to bring into daily life. When loneliness visits, metta and karuna can be like soft light, gently breaking the darkness inside. To practice metta is to start with yourself. Many who feel lonely also carry harsh thoughts toward themselves. They may believe they are unworthy, forgotten, or unloved. This inner criticism builds walls around the heart. But if you gently say to yourself, "May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering," the heart begins to soften. It may feel strange at first, like speaking to a stranger, but this stranger is you, deserving of kindness as much as anyone else. As this kindness grows, it naturally flows outward. You begin to wish the same happiness and peace to others, even those you don't know or those who may have hurt you. This practice does not require you to meet people or speak words. It is a way of opening the heart quietly through your own thoughts and feelings. Slowly, loneliness loses some of its grip. The heart feels connected, not just to people nearby, but to all beings everywhere. Karuna, or compassion, invites us to see the pain in ourselves and others with gentle eyes. When we are lonely, it is easy to feel isolated in our suffering. But suffering is not unique to us. Everyone, at some point, feels pain, sadness, or fear. By recognizing this shared experience, we find a thread that links us to others. This thread is compassion, the wish to relieve suffering wherever we find it. To live with metta and karuna is not to ignore difficulties or pretend everything is fine. It is to meet life fully with an open heart. When you feel lonely, you can sit quietly and invite loving kindness in. You can imagine your loneliness wrapped in a warm light of care. You can remember that others, too, are walking paths with their own struggles. Sometimes, this practice reveals a surprising truth. When we open our hearts with kindness, the feeling of loneliness can transform into a sense of belonging. We belong not only to family or friends, but to the wide, mysterious web of life. This belonging is not dependent on others' actions or presence. It arises from within, rooted in kindness and compassion. In daily life, practicing metta and karuna can be simple. When you wake in the morning, take a moment to breathe deeply and offer kindness to yourself. When you meet others, even strangers, send silent wishes for their happiness. If someone speaks harshly or acts with anger, hold compassion for them, knowing that their pain may be hidden beneath. In these small moments, the heart grows lighter and more free. Loneliness can make us feel separate and small, but the practice of loving kindness shows us we are part of something vast and alive. It is like a river flowing beneath the surface, always there, connecting everything. Even when we do not see it, this river of kindness and compassion can carry us through the hardest times. As you continue your journey, remember that these practices are gifts you give yourself every day. They are seeds planted in the soil of your heart. Some days the seed will grow quickly, and other days it will rest quietly. This is natural. With patience and care, your heart's garden will bloom. When feelings of loneliness return, do not fear them. Instead, greet them as a sign to return to metta and karuna. Let your kindness be the steady light that guides you. Let your compassion be the gentle hand that lifts you. This way, loneliness becomes not an enemy, but a teacher. Through metta and karuna, you learn that love is not only about being with others. It is about being with yourself, fully, tenderly, without judgment. It is about seeing the world with soft eyes and recognizing the shared human journey. It is about opening the heart again and again until you feel its warmth spreading beyond boundaries. This is the heart's true practice, simple, patient, and powerful. It asks only that you show up each day with a kind thought and a gentle wish. In this way, loneliness begins to soften. The space inside is filled with peace. And in that peace, you discover the profound truth. You are never truly alone. A path beyond loneliness, awakening through connection. Imagine, for a moment, that loneliness is not a wall between you and the world, but a veil that hides the true nature of connection. Imagine that beyond this veil lies a vast and gentle field where you are never truly alone. This field is not outside you, it is inside. It is the quiet awareness, the open heart, the deep understanding that we are all threads woven into the same fabric of life. Many people think loneliness means being without others. But in truth, loneliness comes from feeling separated, from thinking we are alone in this journey. When the mind clings to this idea of separateness, the heart shrinks and closes. The Zen path teaches us to open that heart. to look deeply into ourselves and see that we are part of everything we see. The trees, the sky, the breeze, the very air we breathe. They're not separate from us, and neither are the people around us. You may have walked through life feeling like an island distant from others, but that island is connected by the deep currents of existence. When you begin to sense this connection, not just with people, but with all life, you step onto the path beyond loneliness. How do we awaken to this connection? It begins with simple awareness. Sit quietly. Breathe. Feel your breath moving in and out. Notice your thoughts without holding on to them. Notice your feelings without fighting them. This is not about pushing loneliness away or pretending it does not exist. It is about seeing it clearly with kindness. When you look at loneliness with a gentle mind, it softens. When you accept it without fear or judgment, it begins to change. Buddha taught that all things are interconnected. This is called interdependence. Nothing stands alone. Your loneliness, your suffering, your joy, they are part of this great web of life. When you realize this, loneliness loses its sharp edges. It becomes a quiet place where you can rest, knowing you belong. Belonging begins within. You do not need to search outside for love or acceptance. The Buddha said the greatest companion we can have is our own mind, trained in compassion and understanding. When you cultivate compassion for yourself, you begin to fill the empty spaces inside. When you fill yourself with kindness, there's less room for loneliness to grow. But compassion is not just for ourselves. It flows outward like a gentle river. When you open your heart to others, even in small ways, you build invisible bridges. A smile, a kind word, a listening ear. These are the stones on the path that connect one lonely soul to another. In this way, the practice of love becomes a practice of connection. This path does not require grand gestures or perfect moments. It is found in the simple things. The warmth of sunlight on your face, the sound of birds in the morning, the shared silence with a friend. These moments remind us that we are part of life's dance, not spectators. At times, loneliness may return. It is part of the human experience. But now you have a new way to meet it. You no longer run away. You meet it with open arms, knowing it is a teacher, a mirror reflecting your deepest needs. You breathe with it, listen to it, and gently let it pass like clouds in the sky. In this openness, a great peace can arise. This peace is not from outside, but from inside your own heart. It is the peace that comes when you see clearly that you are connected, deeply connected, to all life, to all beings, and most importantly, to yourself. You are never alone. Even in the quietest moments, your breath is with you. The earth supports you. The universe surrounds you. The love you seek is already inside you, waiting to be discovered. This is the awakening, the true end of loneliness. Not by filling the emptiness with noise or distraction, but by embracing it as a sacred space where connection is born. Thank you for walking this path with us here on Wisdom Woven. If this journey has touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let your voice join ours in spreading light and understanding. And before you go, please drop your thoughts below and write Namo Buddhari to keep this positive energy flowing. Remember, the path beyond loneliness is always open. Take one step, breathe, and know you are home.